Welcome to the Legacy LaunchPod, where we help families build and scale their online business to the six-figure mark and beyond so they can break the poverty cycle, build generational wealth, and make a huge impact in the kingdom of God. It all starts right here. All right. I am excited to talk to you today. Welcome back to the weekly walks with Steve, Leah, and kids. And I've got a juicy episode for you. This is for you. If you are one of these people in my DMs or you started following me and you love what I'm talking about, but you don't have a business yet and you don't know where to start, or you have too many ideas and you honestly just don't know what to do with yourself, well, you are in for a treat. I'm about to walk you through my process of how to choose something. And it's kind of a fun process because I'm also considering a new startup myself. It's an extension, maybe a new branch of my existing company. So I'm going to walk myself through the same process as you would do if you were at the very beginning choosing something new, because it's the same process, whether you're an established business and you're going to add a new product or a new branch of your company, or you're just at the very beginning. It's the same. I think the only difference between me and you is I have experience and I know what my skill set is. For every new venture, it's a good thing I don't know what I'm about to get into, because if I knew what was involved, maybe I wouldn't do it. We always said that about the candle industry. We said, oh boy, if we had known what we didn't know, we would have maybe run the other way, because it is not the easiest business to be in. There's so many moving parts. There's a lot of logistics. It's heavy operations. And then you have the marketing. You have all the pieces that you have to be in charge of. And that's not the only model that you can do in this type of industry, but it's the one we're in. I just want to let you know, sometimes it is a blessing in disguise to not know what you don't know and just do it. So if that's you and you're like, okay, I'm either launching a new thing or I don't know what to do, I don't know what product to pick, let me just walk you through. Let me just walk you through my thought process. The first thing I want to mention is that so often in Instagram and conversations I'm having with people every day, the number one thing that people tell me, I have a lot of moms contacting me saying, Leah, I really want to make more income for my family and I just honestly don't know what to do. Here's what I want to challenge you about when it comes to the phrase, I want to make extra income. This is a noble cause. Like, honestly, this is such a Proverbs 31 woman. And I love that moms are realizing, hey, like, not only is it next to impossible to live in this economy on one income, they have skills, gifts, and abilities that God's given them to contribute to the family economy. And I think this is a wonderful thing. And you can do it from home. He's provided us the internet. There's no reason to sacrifice your family or faith or values. You can do it all. It requires being really strategic with your time, with your priorities, doing needle moving activities and tasks. That's what I'm here for. I want to first commend you for that thought process. But the second thing I want to challenge you on is the phrase extra income. Because when someone says, I want to earn extra income, there's a big difference between extra income and being an entrepreneur and being a business owner. Someone who says, I'm looking for extra income, that is kind of a self-forward phrase, right? Like, I want or I need. It's like, what can give me this? Whereas an entrepreneur says, how can I give value to the marketplace so that it's reflected in my profit? So one is self-focused and one is market-focused. And you might think that I'm nitpicking here, but I'm telling you, this is a shift that will dramatically affect the type of income you get and the type of revenue and profit that you have at the end of the day. Make no mistake, this is a radical shift in your thinking. Someone who says, I'm looking for more income, those people should probably just find a job, right? You can get a great job as a VA, a virtual assistant. There's so many valuable jobs that people need, and we need those people in our businesses. Some of you might think you're a business owner, but you might actually be more of an intrapreneur than an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur, by definition, is someone who is willing to take a financial risk. An intrapreneur is someone who has some entrepreneurial tendencies, but within an organization that's existing. So these people are really self-motivated, they're self-starters, they're self-organized,
It's like you can kind of let them loose within a business and they will help bring a tremendous amount of value inside of someone's business and organization. And we need those people too. These are people like you put in charge. Like they're like the boss under the boss. They're the boss running the show so that the owner can like actually take a vacation once in a while. These are people we highly trust. So you might need to consider if perhaps are you truly a business owner? Are you an entrepreneur? By definition, someone who's willing to take a financial risk. If you are very risk averse, you may not be an entrepreneur. And that is totally okay. There's 1,001 ways that you can still make an income online. You can still work with people. You could be an entrepreneur and make a great amount of extra income from your family. But if you find yourself saying, I want extra income, but what I'm really looking to do is bring an insane amount of value and impact to the market. And I really want to build a legacy, not just for my family, but for the world, something that makes the world a better place, something that builds the kingdom here on earth. Okay, well, you might be an entrepreneur then, and you're willing to do all kinds of things that other people aren't, and you are willing to stick it out even when it doesn't looks like it's not working for long periods of time if you're not 100% certain. I also just think like if someone could not stand working for someone else, and I also still let's also make a distinction between self-employed and entrepreneur because there's a ton of self-employed people that I don't consider entrepreneurs. My mom is a hairdresser, has been for like 50 years. She's not an entrepreneur. She's not trying to grow. She just worked doing hair and paid her bills. And that was that. That's self-employed, right? And someone might be a contractor or whatever, but that doesn't mean necessarily an entrepreneur. So there's these little distinctions. So what I'm trying to do here is help you reflect and consider what you truly feel called to do and to be. So when people come to me and they say, I'm looking for extra income, I'm going to have about 5 questions for you to help just distinguish, am I even the right person to help you? Because if it turns out that you're an entrepreneur or you are just simply looking for more income for your family, I might not be the right person to help, but I can send you some amazing resources and point you in the right direction. But if someone's like, I'm an entrepreneur, I want to build something of value and significance, and I want to have such a huge impact in this world, I'm the right person to talk to. So, your revenue is a direct reflection of the value you bring to the market. Let me walk you through my process of trying to decide what to do next or what to sell, what business to start. So, this is going right off the back of your revenue will be a direct reflection of the value you bring to the marketplace. What is an urgent, pressing problem that needs to be solved that people would pay a lot for the solution? Somebody walks into the emergency room and they're bleeding from the head. They have a concussion. It's pretty bad. Versus the person who walks in and has a paper cut on their finger. Okay. Which person is literally dying to solve their problem right now? And which person is going to be the most motivated to solve their problem right now? And which person would be willing to pay the most to solve their problem right now? A lot of people, and even some of my clients who come in to Legacy LaunchPad, they're trying to solve poor people's problems. And hey, poor people's problems do need to be solved, but it's not a good business model. So if you're trying to market a product or service to people who, by demographic and by statistics, do not have money, that's not a good market. That's going to be ever so tough for you to succeed. So solve rich people's problems or, people who have disposable income, right? So, for example, my candle business, people who buy luxury fragrance candles have disposable income, or it's like the small luxury that they afford themselves and choose to spend on instead of something else. So it could be a pain or it could be a passion. So in our case, it's more of a passion. It does solve a pain of not having unique, complex, layered scents, but it is also a passion in that it enhances their entertainment experience, their movie watching, reading, dinner party experience. So that was number one. What is an urgent, pressing problem that needs to be solved that people would pay for the solution? The bleeding head scenario. The second thing is consider your existing skills and experience. If you don't have any skills like I didn't, I it's not that I didn't have any, it's that my perception is that I didn't have any. So I did the only thing with what I had, which was my music. You can't get anywhere if you don't have talent. That's something I also have to bring up for artists. If you're an artist, an author, a painter, a singer, anything like that, you have to consider one thing, which is the X factor, right? Which means the talent. Because I can give all the marketing strategies, the frameworks, and everything to build $1 million business, no problem. That's easy. But if you don't have the talent, if you're not actually good at writing, if you're not good at singing, or your music is not wonderful, then that's not going to help you. So you've got to make sure that the X factor is there. So I did the only thing I could do with what I had at the time, which was my music. And I've told this story a lot, but I'll keep telling you because I think people do need to hear it. First, I made a decision. This is all I've got, and I'm going to make six figures in the next year. By this time next year, I'm going to make 100,000. And I made a declaration to myself and I seared it in my DNA. So I did that, right? I actually did it. And I think I did it in about 6 months. I started doing the activities that aligned with that. I didn't just keep gathering information and studying and reading and learning over and over. I moved. I put it all into action and create a little membership, start a little email list. All it took was one launch to get us out of the danger zone of bankruptcy. And I had no idea it would even do that. So the point here is that you've got to do the best you can with what you have. And that is all based on the parable of the talents. And you need to go study Matthew 25. The master gave to the servants, each according to his ability. If you're given very little, it's because you have very little ability. If you're given a lot, it's because you have a lot of ability. The good news is you can increase your ability. We're not talking about genetics or I here. We're talking about your skill set, your ability. So if you want to be given more, you have to increase your skill set. That was something I learned a long time ago based on the parable of the talents. And I realized if I want to make more than this, I need to get better at certain things. And so that's when I first started investing in myself, started investing into coaching and programs. Back then, more than 10 years ago, there was very little out there. Internet marketing was just starting to take flight. I didn't know who to listen to. Now we've got an overwhelming amount of stuff. It's hard to know who to listen to, and I get that. But I did the right thing and I took a leap of faith, and we couldn't really afford it at the time, but I invested in myself. And that was the best thing I ever did. I ended up doing a payment plan just so I could afford it. And that was the best investment I made at the time. I just needed to learn how to do the things. Like someone walked me through step by step. And so then I realized I made it work for me. And now I realize I'm good at teaching. And lo and behold, teaching my kids homeschooling also prepared me for business and to be a better teacher for other people. You have to be organized and somewhat systematic, even if you are kind of loosey goosey or you're an unschooler. Everybody knows we thrive with structure. And so I found that my teaching style is very structured. It's methodical, it's organized, it's layered, and it's comprehensive. I found, hey, I have a sweet spot here. So what I'll do is I'll turn my knowledge of what I did in my music business to create a six-figure music business without touring, and I'll make it into an ebook. And the ebook flopped. No one bought it. And then I realized I started learning more about the value of courses, and I ended up turning the whole thing into a course. A few years later, we had done 8 figures in that business, over $10 million in coaching and courses, mostly courses. It was wild. I never dreamed. I had to pinch myself for at least a year because I didn't know that that was even possible. So all that to say, if you increase your skill set, you will be given more, because if you increase your skills, you're going to be able to make a bigger impact. And remember, this is all about bringing value to the market, not about you making income. If you shift your focus off of yourself and onto how can I bring the most value to the marketplace that solves an urgent, important problem that people would be willing to pay for, you will become wealthy. End of story. So then you might be wondering, well, my problem doesn't seem that big, or the problem that I think I could solve doesn't seem that big. I would challenge that depending on what it is. Because again, it could be a passion, right? It might be the opposite. There's pain and pleasure. There's who would think somebody became a multi-billionaire with Post-it notes, sticking a little stick of glue on the back of a colored paper? So while we might not say that's a bleeding from the head problem, it solved a problem. It absolutely did. Who can you think of another silly product? Poopery, the toilet spray. I love that stuff. That story is actually hilarious. If you ever look up Susie, whatever her name is, her story of spraying essential oils into the toilet to mask smells in the bathroom. It is, I mean, again, how come no one had invented that? It's hilarious and also genius. So, again, would we say that's a bleeding from the head problem? Well, yeah, it solves a problem. It's anything that's unpleasant that people would like to solve. The first good indicator is a problem that hasn't been solved for yourself. You go like, hey, what is an urgent pressing problem or something really annoying, something I would just love solved for myself? I'll share with you a little bit about an example for myself. You guys know I have the company Mythology Candles. Well, I have been dreaming since I was a teenager of having my own decor store, like furniture and decor. And I just ended up writing it off, the idea, because I didn't think that would ever be possible. Anyways, here we are 25 years later. We have this candle company. It's 8 figures and we're growing, and we are doing partnerships with intellectual properties, and it's great. It's been 5 years now. And I'm a true visionary entrepreneur, which means I don't want to just do that. I want to do the next thing. As we go into expansion, I'm thinking about my next thing. And I realize it's one of those things where, oh boy, I can't sleep at night. I'm too excited about this idea. And that is the idea of a fantasy inspired furniture line, like a full blown line or multiple lines in different styles. I have to walk myself through this whole process, right? Value to the marketplace. Is there an urgent pressing problem that needs to be solved? Is there a gap in the market that no one has solved in a unique way? And I'm like, hands up everywhere. Every time I go shopping for furniture, we just moved, our family just moved. And when you move, you realize, oh my goodness, this needs to be replaced. Time to get a new sofa. Oh my goodness, this is falling apart. So I go shopping for a new thing, new sofa, and I cannot find anything that I like. Everything's ugly. Utilitarian. This is my personal taste. If you know me, you know I'm all about old world, classic, looks like it's out of a storybook. That's my style. And I cannot find anything. Everything is so utilitarian, boxy, ugly, unromantic, no charm, no nothing. I don't like any of the furniture that I shop for. Everything looks like IKEA. I'm allergic to IKEA. So, again, going through this criteria, if I solved this problem for myself, would this be valuable to the marketplace? Would people pay to solve this problem? And the furniture business is a high ticket item, right? It's high ticket. So the chances of getting to $1 million or a 7 figure business would be really easy if there is indeed a gap in the market. So that's a little bit about where my headspace is at on the next venture. And I'm sharing this with you. People are so funny. Sometimes they chat with me and go, what's the business you're working on in Instagram? And they're like, I'm not comfortable sharing that with you because I don't want someone to steal my idea. That's really funny. That's like the thousands of musicians I worked with who were all concerned that someone would steal their music if they didn't copyright it. Meanwhile, they have zero fans and no one has ever heard of them and they've never put out a song. Like, dude, no one is going to steal your idea. No one's going to steal your songs. No one's going to steal your music. It's not that good. Second of all, there's nothing new under the sun. Someone's probably doing it. And if not, take it to the market quick. Do it. He who moves the fastest wins. But I'm not going to steal your idea. I'm comfortable sharing my idea because I literally don't think 99% of people on the planet would ever do it. Because you have to be a little bit crazy. If you don't have a little bit of crazy, then I don't know if you are an entrepreneur. You have to have a little bit of like, what the heck do you think you're doing? If you don't get that reaction from your family, like, what are you doing? I don't know if that's a good sign. People should be a little bit flabbergasted when you tell them what you're doing. I told my friend the other day that I want to start a furniture line, and she just laughed and she was like, oh my gosh, like, Leah, I can't even believe you said that. But she's laughing because she's like, of course you would do that, but in a flabbergasted way. I'm like, yeah, I know. She's like, I have no idea what it'd be like to be in your brain. I'm like, it's a busy place. It really is. So you got to have a little bit of crazy. And then the last thing I want to give you here, I know this has been a long episode, but I really wanted to be thorough here. The last thing I want to give you is my Prism mind scenario. Okay, so I came up with this term, Prism thinking or Prism mind. That is someone who is multidimensional, multi-passionate, and they can see 1,000 possibilities. How do you narrow it down? The power is in channeling all that energy into a single light beam. Imagine a powerful river carving out the Grand Canyon versus 100,000 little streams leaking everywhere. They're not going to do anything, but a powerful river can carve out the Grand Canyon, or just a river anywhere. So if you have a prism mind and you have 1,000 ideas and you're going in different directions, how do you channel it? Well, again, you're going to run it through this purpose, passion, and profit, right? So number one, you want to have a purpose. Maybe it's not your legacy business. Maybe it's just your stepping stone business that's going to give you the skills you need for the legacy business. So, you know, jumping into the now with a long-term vision in mind. Okay. So you've got a purpose as to your why. Why are you doing this? It's not wrong to have a personal why. Like you want to pay off your mortgage, leave your kids an inheritance, or take your kids to Disneyland. Totally fine. Nothing wrong with having personal whys. My personal why is I want to buy a castle in cash somewhere in Europe, UK, somewhere, right? So that's my why. Totally cool to have one of those. But then you can have a bigger why. What's your bigger, deeper mission? Like if you want to bring value to the market, you want to build the kingdom of God here on earth, and commerce is the way you want to make an impact because business is a ministry. Second thing is passion. You don't want to lose your steam, right? So if you're not truly passionate about the thing, if it's not something you wake up thinking about or something that is a big part of your life already, you might get bored and give up on it, and you're not going to ever really get the momentum and traction you need. So make sure you're passionate about it. The third one is profit. This comes back to the bleeding head scenario. You want to make sure there's a demand for it and that the price is going to be at a price point where you can actually be profitable. Like I said, don't start a business that markets to poor people. This is like, hey, we all have compassion on the poor. We can minister to the poor. We can do all the things, but not a good business choice. Okay. And then I just want to reinforce that again, your first business is likely your stepping stone business. It's not your legacy business, but like in the parable of the talents, your stepping stone business is the thing you're going to do to increase your skill set so that you can be given more to steward here on earth. And you're going to continue to build, you're going to build your skill set, you're going to build your value in the marketplace, and then you will build your wealth. So that was a lot there. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have a download for you that is organizing all this information I said. And so you can have a download to get that. Check the show notes for that. If you want a really structured way to narrow this down, I have something called the Clarity class. We'll link the Clarity class in the show notes as well. You can also DM me on Instagram the word clarity, and I will send you the link to the Clarity class. It's just some exercises to help you figure out this whole process. After you do that, the next thing I want you to do is to watch my main master class on the 3 big secrets that allowed me to build $1 million business, even as a homeschool mom of 5. So that would be your next step. Download this worksheet, do the Clarity class, and then watch my master class. That is your homework. I hope this has been super valuable for you. I look forward to talking to you next time.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning in today. Don't leave just yet. I've got 2 things. Number 1, if you enjoyed this content, if this was of any value to you, please leave me a review and share with a friend. This content is 100% free, so that's like leaving me a tip, and it's going to encourage us to keep making it. Number 2, if it's your desire to build your own family legacy and you want some help, send me a DM on Instagram with the word podcast, and I've got something special for you. Again, DM me with the word podcast at Real Leah McHenry on Instagram. And that's it. We'll see you next time.